Hey everybody, welcome to TV Recap. I'm Lance, and today I'm going to talk to you about the premiere episode of HBO's new series Westworld, titled The Original. Now I'm going to go into the full details of the episode and its story, so be advised that this video will be heavy on the spoilers. Starting right off, let's talk about the title sequence. The show starts with a somber sort of music score while we see a montage of robotic arms building horses, people, and even a piano. Now as the score builds, the detail on the people and horses increases and the piano takes a focus as it starts playing itself. We get some glimpses of the world and then the music turns just a little bit ominous at the end. I love the intro to the show and you can almost tell that they got kind of a nudge in the right direction from Game of Thrones. Now into the show itself. We start with an interrogation of a young woman named Dolores and we see her sitting quietly while a fly crawls on her eyeball. Now we get a question about the nature of reality and we see Dolores wake up in a Western ranch house and head out to take in the natural splendor. We find out that the visitors to this world are called newcomers and are treated to some fantastic shots of the open West. See? And we see a train pull in and people enter a town remarking about how much it costs to visit. And we focus on a young man named Teddy turn down a sheriff's call for help taking down an outlaw, getting some whiskey, turning down an escort in the saloon, and it turns out he's in town to meet up with Dolores. Now the interview with Dolores continues as a voiceover making mention of repetition and inconsistencies. Now I thought this was a great way to introduce the world of the show. It establishes the idea that there are visitors to this world and that they pay a lot of money to visit. And on top of that, the interview voiceover and the focus on the player piano in the saloon gives a very uneasy feeling to an otherwise peaceful setting. Now when Teddy and Dolores reach her home, we get the first taste of danger to the world as two shots ring out from Dolores' house. Teddy runs up to find two bandits have killed Dolores' mother and father and shoots them down. Now while Dolores is mourning her parents, a man in black appears and mentions coming to the town for 30 years and remarks that Dolores still doesn't remember him. Now Teddy confronts the man in black and we get the twist that Teddy is actually part of this world while the man in black is the newcomer and can't be killed. Now following the dark turn of that night, we see the player piano kick back up and Dolores and Teddy begin to repeat their mourning. Now we get the first shot of the world as a simulation in a high-tech lab where the lead programmer Bernard has discovered a new update to the residents of the world, or hosts, includes personality quirks from the chairman Ford that may allow the host to access memories previously thought overwritten. Now we get an introduction to Ford talking to an outdated host in cold storage, and this scene definitely upped the creep factor of the show with all of the decommissioned hosts and the shells in the bags for all the older ones. Now switching back to Westworld, we see how minor interactions from newcomers can throw off the routines we've previously seen, and we see the man in black begin to make his move at a poker table. Now a couple traveling with the sheriff to capture a bandit named Hector notice the sheriff breaks down when a fly lands on him, and we transition to the host being examined by Bernard, Teresa, the head of operations, and Lee, the head writer, while they argue about pulling 200 hosts from the park. Now the one odd takeaway from this is there are 1,400 guests to 2,000 hosts, which is a lot closer than I would have thought it would have been. Should be interesting to see how that plays out. Now we get a couple small world building scenes and things begin to unravel as Dolores' father finds a picture of a modern woman in Times Square. While he begins to question this, we see Teresa and Lee discuss a business coup against Ford and Bernard, and Teresa confirms our growing suspicion that there is something bigger going on than just an advanced theme park. Now back in Westworld, the man in black slits the poker dealer's throat and captures him. Meanwhile, one of the bandits from the encounter with Dolores goes rogue, killing a number of other hosts, threatening two guests, and refuses to die when he is shot. Now a security team has to shut down the local simulation, and Bernard and Teresa plan to pull the update from all of the hosts, forcing a rewrite of the entire script. Now I think they did a great job of making this first major issue a downplayed business discussion and then supporting it with a philosophical discussion between Ford and Bernard immediately after. We find out that the man in black has taken the dealer to the bluffs to bleed him for some purpose, while Dolores awakens again to find out her father breaking down from the photo he found. Dolores goes to town for help and gets caught up in the Saloon High storyline. Now this scene was fantastic. All of the action, the shots, and all of it was underscored greatly by a player piano version of Paint It Black by the Rolling Stones. We get an introduction to the charismatic Hector. Teddy gets shot in the crossfire and the action is cut with a great humorous moment when the husband from the sheriff's quest shoots Hector before he can deliver his big speech. Now the core issue of the show comes to light as we see the interrogations of Dolores and her father by the head of security and Ford respectively. Now, Dolores gives a response as expected, but her father begins to show signs of his previously programmed personalities and says that he must warn Dolores about the world and that he wants to meet his maker and take revenges upon him. Now, the show then wraps with Dolores' father being placed in cold storage, the Man in Black scalping the host he kidnapped, and Dolores returns to the world. However, right before we cut, we see Dolores kill a fly in violation of her programming. Now, that's a lot to unpack for one episode of TV, but this was a very dense episode introducing a lot of characters and themes. Now, for my thoughts, this was an amazing start to a new series. I was captivated the entire time. The shots were all great, and the music highlighted the show perfectly. I can't wait to see where the story develops in the rest of the season. Now, before I go, I wanted to talk about the similarities I saw between Dolores and the Man in Black. Both seem to have started on a path to discover more about their world, but for entirely different reasons. I know there are some online that think the Man in Black is actually a host, but I'm not sure I buy that. I'm actually leaning more towards a theory that Bernard is a host that has somehow advanced to human level. And I thought there's a lot to the seemingly thrown away scene with Dolores explaining the role of the Judas steer. I think that's supposed to be a clear connection to her future role leading the rest of the hosts, but we'll have to see how that goes. Alright, so what did you guys think? Is the Man in Black a host or a guest? Is there already a host working at the company unaware of his or her nature? And how far is Ford going to go in his pursuit of higher evolution? Please go ahead and leave any comments you might have below, and I do read all the comments I get. And be sure to click here to subscribe so you don't miss next week's discussion of episode 2. Alright, that's going to do it for me this week. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.